Good evening, weary traveler, and welcome once more to a tranquil journey through the quiet, vast, and profoundly different corridors of human history. As the day's last golden light softly, slowly, and peacefully fades away, retreating beyond the distant horizon, and the modern world outside your window begins its gentle, nightly hush, we extend to you a warm invitation. We encourage you to settle deeply, very deeply, into your most comfortable and secure space. Allow your thoughts to gently and serenely unwind, slowly untangling themselves from the day's persistent concerns. Prepare your mind, calmly and patiently, for a truly immersive, yet profoundly tranquil voyage into a time long past. To a world where even the most fundamental aspect of your anatomy, your very feet, presented a daily, unyielding, and often excruciating challenge. Tonight, we will venture far, far beyond the hurried, often fragmented rhythm of our contemporary existence. We will turn our gaze, with deliberate intention, towards a pivotal, iconic, and often romanticized era in European history. The vast, sprawling expanse of the medieval period. Specifically, our focus will be on why having feet was terrible in medieval times. Never last a day, providing a deep, meticulous dive into the often unseen, untalked about realities of daily life for countless men, women, and children who formed the backbone of medieval society. This is a narrative that seeks to transcend the grand tales of kings and knights, of castles and crusades, and even the idyllic depictions of simple village life. Instead, we will delve into the harsh, often unyielding, yet deeply repetitive and surprisingly uniform routines, or often the striking lack thereof, that governed the experience of walking, working, and simply existing, when every step brought a new challenge to your feet. This was a world bound by different understandings of pain, by limited resources, by profound physical demands, and by pervasive, persistent discomfort that would profoundly challenge the very sensibilities of a modern individual, accustomed to cushioned shoes and smooth, clean surfaces. Imagine for a long, quiet, contemplative moment, a life dictated not by cushioned soles or paved roads, but by the raw, unceasing demands of rough terrain, by the constant presence of sharp objects and unseen dangers beneath your feet, and by the sheer, overwhelming proximity to the daily struggles and the unseen microbial life of others. A world where the dawn brought not the promise of a comfortable commute, but the absolute certainty of familiar, aching feet, where every precious hour, every single minute, was consumed by tasks performed amidst pervasive grime, within homes and fields saturated with unpleasantly strong, persistent odors, under the ever-present, watchful gaze of a frequently overcast sky or a scorching sun. This was a life of quiet, profound endurance, of deep physical engagement with a constantly unforgiving ground, and of an almost hypnotic monotony that, paradoxically, can now serve to lull the modern mind into a state of deep calm. A gentle invitation to surrender to a simpler, more arduous, and certainly more painful, rhythm of existence. We will explore the subtle yet pervasive sounds of bare feet on earth, the distant rustle of straw, the constant low murmur of communal living, and the rhythmic splash of water often unsanitary being discarded into muddy paths, all intimately experienced through the humble yet indispensable feet. This is a story not of heroic battles or dramatic political intrigues, but of the silent, persistent grind of daily existence of the human spirit's quiet resilience in the face of overwhelming natural and man-made impurities. Unpredictable outbreaks of disease that often started with the feet and profound sensory challenges. It is a narrative woven from countless threads of physical discomfort, of ceaseless, repetitive motions, and of the subtle yet ever-present challenges of basic survival, of contributing to the family unit, and of navigating a world where pain was a constant companion often ignored. It is designed to be a gentle lullaby, an invitation for your own mind to find its perfect stillness, allowing the rhythmic, unceasing sounds and detailed, often startling, sensations of a bygone era to guide you towards a truly restorative rest. So now, as you listen, breathe deeply, very deeply, letting your chest gently rise and fall with each breath. Feel the comforting, soft weight of your blanket surrounding you, wrapping you in a cocoon of warmth and security. Feel the gentle, steady rhythm of your own breath, a quiet anchor in the present moment. And finally, allow your mind to simply drift, to slowly, peacefully, begin its imagined journey into this rugged, ancient, and profoundly tranquil historical landscape. Let the whispers of a forgotten pain and the imagined echoes of countless weary footsteps guide your thoughts serenely and without haste, towards a state of profound stillness, ultimate peace, and a truly restful, dream-filled sleep. having gently settled ourselves into the contemplation of a bygone era, allowing our minds to slowly drift towards the vast, open landscapes of human endeavor, let us now transport our thoughts, calmly and with profound understanding, to the very heart of medieval Europe, to a time when life was dictated not by cushioned comfort or smooth, paved roads, but by the relentless, unwavering realities of rough terrain and constant physical hardship. We are about to immerse ourselves, not in the grand castles or the intricate lives of knights, but in the raw, relentless, and profoundly revealing reality of daily existence for countless individuals, where the most fundamental aspect of their anatomy, their very feet, presented a daily, unyielding, and often excruciating challenge. This is a narrative that seeks to transcend romanticized notions of the past, delving instead into the harsh, often unyielding yet deeply repetitive and surprisingly uniform routines, or often the striking lack thereof, that governed the experience of walking, working, and simply existing, when every single step brought a new, often painful, ordeal to the humble, yet indispensable, feet. It was a world bound by different understandings of pain, by limited resources, by profound physical demands, and by pervasive, persistent discomfort that would profoundly challenge the very sensibilities of a modern individual, accustomed to pristine conditions and advanced footwear. Imagine, for a long, quiet moment, the very start of such a day, deeply rooted in the ancient patterns of existence, yet far removed from any sense of modern foot comfort. The hour is impossibly early, long before the first hint of golden light has even begun to paint the cold, grey eastern sky, which is still shrouded in the deep, cool, indigo blue of pre-dawn. You are awakened not by a jarring alarm, nor by the subtle shift in air, but by the internal clock of your own body, a profound, ingrained rhythm, attuned to the necessities of family survival. Perhaps the faint, distant crow of a rooster from a neighboring hut, its call thin and sharp in the cold air, or the low, almost imperceptible murmur of your parents beginning to stir on their own sleeping mats beside you gently pulls you back from the depths of sleep. Your small, simple mud-and wattle home, its walls made of rough-hewn timber, woven with branches and plastered with clay and straw. Its roof thickly thatched with layers of straw or reeds feels cool and dark, its thick, insulating structure still holding the night's coolness against the encroaching morning warmth. The air within carries a complex, earthy, comforting scent, dried mud, old straw from the sleeping mats, wood smoke lingering from last night's small central fire in the hearth, and the subtle, unmistakable aroma of human presence, a blend of unwashed bodies, stale sweat, and perhaps persistent animal odors from shared living spaces. There is no soft, yielding bed to linger in. Your sleeping mat, woven from coarse straw or rushes, lies directly on the packed earth floor, offering only a firm, utilitarian comfort. Its rough texture, a constant, subtle reminder of your humble station. You rise slowly, stiffly, your muscles already aching with a deep, persistent soreness from yesterday's relentless toil, a low, constant thrum of fatigue already present deep within your limbs. The floor beneath your bare feet is cool, rough earth, its uneven texture familiar against your soles, perhaps even slightly damp or gritty. The first profound shock to a modern sensibility, upon awakening in this medieval world, would be the immediate sensation upon your feet. Most medieval peasants, and even many city dwellers, possessed little to no proper footwear, or their shoes were of such rudimentary construction that they offered minimal protection. Imagine your bare feet, tender from the night's rest, touching the cold, rough earth floor. The texture is uneven, gritty, perhaps with small, sharp pebbles or bits of dried straw pressing into your soles. There is no soft carpet, no smooth tile, no even wooden planks. This immediate, pervasive discomfort is the first lesson of the day. Your feet are always intimately connected to the raw, unforgiving ground. The coldness would seep into your bones, a chilling sensation that permeates your entire body. For those fortunate enough to possess shoes, imagine pulling on a pair of coarse, ill-fitting leather shoes or simple wooden clogs. The leather is stiff, unyielding, often without any interior padding, rubbing roughly against your skin. The wooden clogs, while offering protection from mud and sharp objects, are hard and rigid, lacking any flexibility, making each step a loud, clunky affair, and causing continuous friction against your heels and toes. The subtle squeak of dry leather, the rhythmic clack of wooden clogs, these are the sounds of your constrained movement. The process of preparing for the day is quick, efficient, and deeply habitual, utterly devoid of any lingering luxury or modern convenience of personal care, particularly for your feet. There is no warm basin for a soothing foot soak. Instead, you might use a meager handful of cold, often murky, water to quickly rinse your hands and face, but your feet remain untouched by anything beyond the cold earth. Your clothing is simple, unadorned, chosen for durability against thorns, rough earth, and persistent wear rather than for any comfort or appearance. Its fabric feels thick, almost stiff, against your small body, a familiar, unchanging sensation that defines your daily attire, and often carries the faint, ingrained scent of wood smoke, sweat, and persistent body odor from days of wear without washing. The air in the tiny hut is still heavy, filled with the quiet, anticipatory hum of the impending workday. There is little time for idle conversation. The profound silence of the pre-dawn household is broken only by your own soft breathing and the subtle rustle of worn clothing as everyone, including your aching feet, prepares to face the monumental tasks ahead. Breakfast, a crucial source of raw energy for the grueling hours ahead, is meager and quickly consumed by all family members, often huddled together around the dying embers of the central hearth. The aromas are simple, earthy, utilitarian. This meal is not consumed for pleasure or social enjoyment, but purely for fundamental sustenance, providing the minimal, essential fuel necessary for your bodies to endure the long, demanding hours ahead. It is consumed swiftly, silently, almost mechanically, a direct reflection of the day's unyielding schedule. There is no lingering, no extended conversation. The focus is entirely on the quick intake of calories. Before the sun begins its relentless ascent and the communal fields, or the countless household chores call out for your labor, demanding every step from your already weary feet. Then comes the walk to the fields, a journey that is often short, yet always imbued with a profound sense of purpose and an intimate, almost sacred, connection to the land you are striving to cultivate. Imagine stepping out from your modest home into the pre-dawn stillness of the village. The air outside is cool, crisp, carrying the pervasive, rich scent of damp earth, of wood smoke from neighboring chimneys, and the subtle, familiar aroma of livestock. The ground beneath your bare feet or worn wooden clogs is often muddy or uneven, covered with the churned-up earth of the village path, its texture rough and familiar against your soles. You are not alone. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of other figures, silhouetted against the faint, eastern glow, walk with the same determined, weary stride. They are men, women, and even children, all heading towards the same expansive, communal fields stretching towards the horizon, bound by the universal, ancient rhythm of agricultural life, a shared fate that demands constant walking. The sounds of the waking village gradually intensify as you approach the cultivated lands. The distant, rhythmic lowing of oxen, already being yoked for plowing, their deep calls echoing softly across the still air, the gentle bleating of newly awakened sheep, the soft clucking of chickens, and the occasional bray of a donkey. All these sounds begin to merge, growing louder, more insistent, forming a complex, rural symphony that slowly, inexorably, washes over you, creating a living tapestry of the medieval countryside. Your bare feet or worn wooden clogs make a soft, rhythmic scuffing or clunking sound on the damp earth, a quiet counterpoint to the growing chorus of life. The sense of anticipation is not one of excitement or adventure, but of determined resignation, of entering a monumental, ancient task where your individual will is entirely subsumed by the overwhelming, powerful, and often unpredictable demands of the land and the changing seasons, all experienced through your persistently aching feet. Upon finally reaching the expansive, flat field that will be your domain for the day, shared communally with your neighbors, the true repetitive toil of medieval peasant life begins, a toil that places immense strain on your feet. The ground before you is dark, rich, a testament to centuries of cultivation, its surface often still damp with dew or recent rain. The air here feels heavy, thick with the earthy scent of the moist soil, of growing grain, and perhaps the faint, distant aroma of manure used for fertilization. Imagine yourself taking your initial stance, a solitary figure in a vast, open landscape, yet connected to countless others, performing the exact same, arduous task in scattered fields stretching towards the distant tree line. The very first, and perhaps most fundamental, task of the agricultural year, after the winter's dormancy, is the arduous preparation of the soil. This involves breaking up the hard, compacted clods left by the previous harvest and creating precise furrows for planting, a task that requires immense, constant movement of your feet across uneven ground. If it is plowing season, you would grasp the handles of a simple, heavy wooden plow, its ancient design almost unchanged for millennia. The wood, worn smooth by countless hands and seasons, feels rough yet familiar beneath your calloused grip. This plow is pulled by a team of patient, powerful oxen, their massive forms moving with a slow, deliberate, almost ponderous strength. Imagine the rhythmic, deep creak of the wooden plow as it cuts through the rich, dark earth, its share, or blade, biting deep into the soil, turning over long, even furrows of dark, fertile earth. The sounds are distinct and deeply repetitive. The soft snorting of the oxen, their heavy, methodical breathing, the occasional lowing as they strain against the yoke, and the steady, pervasive rustle of soil being disturbed. Your hands grip the rough, wooden handles of the plow, feeling the subtle vibrations of the earth as it is turned. Your bare feet, or sturdy clogs, sink slightly into the soft, yielding mud, feeling its cool dampness or gritty texture. The constant pressure of the uneven ground. This motion is repeated countless times, back and forth, across the seemingly endless communal field, a ceaseless, precise dance between your body, the patient animals, and the demanding earth, every step a challenge to your feet. Your gaze is fixed forward, watching the dark soil slowly, rhythmically unfold before you, creating a series of parallel lines, stretching towards the distant horizon, a testament to slow, methodical progress, all achieved through the continuous, pounding effort of your legs and feet. The physical strain is constant, a deep, persistent ache in your back and shoulders, but the rhythm is hypnotic, almost meditative, allowing your mind to drift into a state of quiet, focused endurance, merging with the ancient cycle, even as your feet throb with fatigue. Once the furrows are meticulously prepared, the next crucial task is the sowing of seeds. Another deeply repetitive yet profoundly vital activity, imbued with the silent hope of future sustenance, all performed on foot. Imagine yourself walking slowly, deliberately, along each newly formed furrow, your bare feet sinking gently into the soft, damp earth, feeling its cool embrace. Your hand, holding a small pouch filled with precious barley, rye, or emmer wheat seeds, moves with a practiced, rhythmic sweep. You gently scatter the seeds, a small, continuous shower of life falling into the waiting, open soil. The sound is subtle, almost imperceptible, the soft rustle of seeds in your hand, the faintest patter as they land on the earth, and the gentle whisper of the breeze. This precise, repetitive motion is performed again and again across the entire communal field. An endless progression of sowing, each individual seed a silent promise of future sustenance, a quiet investment in the coming year, all requiring constant, rhythmic walking across miles of uneven ground. The aroma of the raw seeds, earthy and subtly sweet, fills your nostrils, an unchanging, comforting part of your sensory world, connecting your small hands to the very essence of life, even as your feet grow weary. After the precious seeds are sown and gently covered by another pass of the plow or harrow, the long, patient work of tending the crops begins a crucial phase that demands constant watchful waiting and diligent care, much of it spent on your feet. Imagine spending hours, day after quiet day, standing or slowly walking in the fields, the relentless medieval sun beating down upon your head, its warmth a constant, pervasive presence. You would spend countless hours simply observing, looking for early signs of disease in the young shoots, for the telltale tracks of pests, or for persistent weeds encroaching upon the precious young plants. The sounds would be subtle, the gentle hum of unseen insects, the distant drone of a foraging bee, the soft rustle of young grain stalks swaying gently in the breeze. The air would be thick with the comforting scent of sun-baked earth and growing greenery. Your fingers carefully pulling out unwanted plants one by one, feeling the rough earth beneath your hands, ensuring the precious food crops received all the nourishment. This quiet, persistent guardianship, day after patient day, through the long, hot months, formed the central, unyielding rhythm of your existence, a slow, continuous battle for sustenance, all endured on persistently aching feet. Protecting the growing crops from various threats was another continuous, often monotonous, responsibility that demanded constant vigilance, much of it requiring you to be on your feet. Imagine spending long hours in the intense heat, watching over the fields, your eyes constantly scanning the distant horizon and the vast, open sky. Swarms of locusts, though rare, could devastate an entire harvest in mere minutes, a terrifying, sudden threat that brought profound despair. Birds, too, were a constant menace, swooping down in flocks to consume precious grain. You might stand for hours, occasionally shouting or waving your arms to scare them away, your voice a lonely echo in the vast open fields. Or you might be tasked with setting simple, repetitive traps for small rodents, checking them morning and evening. a quiet, continuous effort to protect your vital food source. This vigilant, repetitive watchfulness, often performed in profound silence under the relentless, unchanging sun, was yet another facet of the farmer's unyielding daily life, a quiet, ceaseless battle against the persistent, unpredictable forces of nature, all endured on persistently tired and sore feet. The lack of proper footwear, or any footwear at all, meant that your feet were in a constant state of vulnerability and discomfort. Imagine walking barefoot over rough, uneven terrain, sharp stones, thorny bushes, hardened clods of earth, cold mud, unseen animal droppings. Each step could bring a new, stinging pain. Your soles would be perpetually tough and calloused, a thick, leathery armor against the ground, yet still susceptible to deep cuts, punctures, or painful bruising from unseen hazards. In winter, the cold would be excruciating, seeping into your unprotected feet, making them numb and stiff, risking frostbite in severe conditions. In summer, the hot earth would burn, causing blisters and cracks. The simple act of walking, which we perform unthinkingly today, was a continuous act of cautious navigation, a constant negotiation with the unforgiving ground, every step a potential source of minor injury. The sounds would be the soft scuff of bare feet on earth, the occasional sharp intake of breath from a sudden pain, all blending into the pervasive background of your daily discomfort. Blisters, calluses, and infections were a constant, unavoidable reality for medieval feet. Imagine the persistent ache of a large blister, raw and tender, rubbed continuously by your ill-fitting shoe or by the very ground itself. The thick, hardened calluses that developed on your soles, while offering some protection, were themselves a source of dull, chronic pain. Cuts and punctures from thorns, sharp stones, or discarded objects in the fields were common, and in a world without modern antiseptics, these minor injuries could quickly fester and become severely infected, swelling painfully, turning red and hot, sometimes even leading to debilitating fevers or, in the worst cases, amputation or death. Imagine the throbbing pain, the quiet fear of infection spreading, the constant low-level discomfort that never truly dissipated. The persistent smell of unwashed feet, mingled with the subtle odor of minor infections or old wounds, would be a constant, unpleasant aroma, an intimate part of your daily sensory experience. The medieval understanding of foot care was rudimentary, driven by practicality rather than hygiene or comfort. There were no soothing foot baths, no lotions, no specialized tools for trimming nails or treating corns. Any remedies for foot ailments would have been simple herbal poultices, perhaps applied in desperation to a throbbing wound, or the advice of the village herbalist. Offering a simple sap of the best cure was often rest, a luxury rarely afforded to a peasant. Your feet, perpetually dirty, perpetually aching, was simply endured, a testament to your body's resilience. The simple act of sitting down, even for a brief moment, and taking the pressure off your weary feet, would be a profound, momentary luxury, a fleeting respite from the constant discomfort that permeated your daily existence. The continuous physical demand placed on your feet, from childhood onwards, meant that they were constantly fatigued. Imagine the deep bone-weary ache that would settle into your arches, your heels, your ankles, and up into your calves at the end of a long day of plowing, sowing, or harvesting. This fatigue was not just a sensation, it was a profound physical exhaustion that permeated every fiber of your being, a constant companion that never truly left, even after a night's fitful sleep. Your feet, though strong and resilient, were always battling against the cumulative effects of relentless toil, of constant pressure, and of persistent minor injuries. The only true relief came with the deep, dreamless sleep of utter exhaustion, a quiet surrender to the demands of the day. As the sun began its slow, gradual descent towards the western horizon, painting the sky with fiery oranges, deep purples, and soft, fading blues, the air gradually, slowly, began to cool again, bringing with it the damp, pervasive chill of the medieval night. The shadows lengthened, stretching endlessly across the fields and through the village, before finally, inevitably, merging into the complete, profound darkness of night. The family, weary from their day's toil, would slowly gather back in the small, warm embrace of their hut. Your feet, aching and throbbing, would find a momentary reprieve as you sat by the fire. The evening meal, like breakfast, was simple, communal, and often eaten in quiet contemplation. After the meal, there might be a brief period of quiet family time, mending clothes by the flickering firelight, repairing simple tools, or engaging in quiet storytelling, their voices soft and rhythmic in the quiet room. These were the simple, profound joys found in the stillness of family, a quiet refuge from the endless, structured toil, and the persistent, challenging realities of medieval hygiene, especially for your constantly suffering feet. Sleep, for the medieval peasant family, was not a luxury but a profound necessity, a deep surrender to sheer physical and mental exhaustion. All family members would share the same small sleeping space, lying together on their straw mats, seeking warmth and comfort in close proximity. Your feet, though aching, would finally find rest, allowing the body's natural healing to begin its slow, quiet work. The sounds of the hut at night would be the soft, rhythmic breathing of sleeping family members, the gentle crackling of the dying fire in the hearth, the subtle creak of old timbers as the hut responded to the cooling night air, and the distant, muffled calls of nocturnal animals from the surrounding forest, all blending into a soothing natural lullaby. This deep, shared sleep, born of an entire day of unyielding physical labor, constant acclimation to their unwashed reality, and profound emotional adaptation to isolation, prepared their bodies for the inevitable, relentless rhythm of the coming dawn, knowing that tomorrow, the sun would rise again, and the endless, silent, demanding routines of medieval life, with all its pungent realities and persistent challenges to your feet, would simply, quietly continue guiding them through sheer weariness, towards a deep, restorative sleep, a peaceful surrender to the ancient, eternal patterns of existence. Having deeply immersed ourselves in the raw, unyielding realities of medieval personal hygiene and the constant painful challenges faced by the feet of an ordinary peasant, enduring the relentless toil of the fields and the harshness of the unforgiving ground beneath their ill-shod or bare soles, let us now slowly, and with a profound shift in perspective, turn our gaze. We are about to step into a vastly different, yet equally disciplined and profoundly grueling realm within the same ancient civilization, the arduous, ceaseless journey. This is a narrative that seeks to transcend romanticized notions of adventurous travel, delving instead into the harsh, often unyielding, yet deeply repetitive and surprisingly uniform protocols that governed every aspect of medieval travel on foot, whether for pilgrims seeking spiritual solace, peddlers seeking livelihood, or even soldiers marching to distant lands. It was a world where immense distances intersected with profound physical and psychological challenges, creating unique and pervasive demands that would profoundly test the very sensibilities of a modern individual, accustomed to rapid, comfortable transportation. Imagine, for a long, quiet moment, the very start of such a journey for a medieval traveler, deeply rooted in the ancient patterns of movement, yet utterly devoid of modern convenience. The hour is impossibly early, long before the first hint of golden light has even begun to paint the cold, grey eastern sky, which is still shrouded in the deep, cool, indigo blue of pre-dawn. You are awakened not by a jarring alarm, but by the subtle, internal clock of your own body, a profound, ingrained rhythm attuned to the necessities of travel, perhaps the faint, distant crow of a rooster from a nearby village, or the low, almost imperceptible murmur of your travel companions beginning their quiet preparations, gently pulls you back from the depths of sleep. Your temporary sleeping shelter, perhaps a crude lean-to in a forest, a shared bed in a crowded inn, or simply a blanket spread on the open ground, feels cool and damp, its meager protection barely holding back the pervasive coolness of the morning air. The ground beneath your feet, hard and uneven, is covered with a thin layer of dry leaves, damp earth, or rough straw, its texture familiar against your weary body. You rise slowly, stiffly, your muscles already aching with a deep, persistent soreness from yesterday's long miles. A low, constant thrum of fatigue already present deep within your limbs. The air here, even before the sun begins to warm the world, carries a crisp, clean scent of damp earth, of decaying leaves, and the subtle, wild aroma of the open road. The process of preparing for the days-long march is quick, efficient, and deeply habitual, utterly devoid of any lingering luxury or modern convenience. There is no running water for a full wash. Instead, you might splash a meager handful of cold, often murky, water onto your face, feeling its sharp, bracing coolness awaken your skin. A fleeting moment of raw freshness quickly absorbed by the dry, crisp air, leaving behind only the subtle scent of damp earth and stale morning air. Your hair, often long and unkempt, is quickly smoothed with your fingers, perhaps still matted from sleep. Your clothing is simple, unadorned, chosen for its durability against the elements and persistent wear rather than for any comfort or appearance. It consists of layers of coarse wool or thick linen, its fabric feeling rough, almost stiff, against your body. For footwear, you might have sturdy, ill-fitting leather boots, their soles thin and hard, offering minimal cushioning, or perhaps merely simple wooden clogs. The subtle creak of dry leather, the rhythmic clack of wooden clogs, or the soft scuff of bare feet. These are the sounds of your constrained movement. Breakfast, a crucial source of raw energy for the grueling miles ahead, is meager and quickly consumed by all travel companions, often huddled together around a dying campfire or a simple hearth in an inn. It consists primarily of basic, nourishing staples, reflecting the pragmatic bounty or scarcity of the immediate surroundings. Perhaps a piece of hard, dry bread, its texture rough and dense against your tongue, softened with a few sips of simple, unfiltered water or weak ale. Or perhaps a bowl of thick, warm gruel, tasting faintly of grain and smoke. The aromas are simple, earthy, utilitarian, reflecting the direct, unadorned bounty of the immediate land. This meal is not consumed for pleasure or social enjoyment, but purely for fundamental sustenance, providing the minimal, essential fuel necessary for your body to endure the long, demanding hours of walking ahead. It is consumed swiftly, silently, almost mechanically, a direct reflection of the day's unyielding schedule. There is no lingering, no extended conversation. The focus is entirely on the quick intake of calories before the sun begins. Its relentless ascent and the endless road calls out for your weary feet. Then comes the beginning of the day's long march, a journey that is often measured in tens of miles, yet always imbued with a profound sense of purpose and an intimate, almost pervasive connection to the land you are traversing. Imagine stepping out from your temporary shelter onto the narrow, winding path. The air outside is cool, crisp, carrying the pervasive, rich scent of damp earth, of decaying leaves, and the subtle, wild, untamed aroma of the open countryside. The ground beneath your feet is uneven, often muddy or dusty, covered with loose stones, protruding roots, or patches of slick mud, its texture rough and challenging against your soles. You are often not alone. Perhaps a small group of pilgrims, their staves in hand, their voices low in prayer, or a lone peddler, his heavy pack slung over his shoulder, its contents rattling softly, or a small company of soldiers, their armor clinking softly, their footsteps rhythmic. All these figures silhouetted against the faint eastern glow, walk with the same determined, weary stride. The sounds of the road gradually intensify as you leave the quiet of the morning behind. The rhythmic scuff of countless footsteps on the earth, the soft creak of leather from shoes or packs, the gentle murmur of low conversations, the distant bleating of sheep from a passing pasture, or the lowing of cattle. All these sounds begin to merge, growing louder, more insistent, forming a complex rural symphony that slowly, inexorably, washes over you, creating a living tapestry of the medieval journey. Your bare feet or worn wooden clogs make a soft, rhythmic scuffing or clunking sound on the uneven ground, a quiet counterpoint to the growing chorus of life. The sense of anticipation is not one of excitement or wild adventure, but of determined resignation, of entering a monumental, ancient task where your individual will is entirely subsumed by the overwhelming, powerful, and often unpredictable demands of the road and the elements, all experienced through your persistently aching feet. The act of walking itself, for hours upon end, for days, for weeks, was a continuous, physically demanding, and profoundly monotonous ordeal. Imagine your feet, perpetually tough and calloused, yet still aching, pounding rhythmically against the hard-packed earth, the sharp stones, the gritty sand, or the slick mud of the road. Each step sends a subtle shockwave up your legs, slowly, steadily, contributing to a pervasive fatigue that settles deep in your bones. The lack of cushioned modern shoes means your soles bear the brunt of every uneven surface. Every pebble, every root, blisters, raw and tender, would form and burst, leaving open wounds susceptible to dirt and infection. Calluses thick and hardened would protect in some areas, yet crack painfully in others. Cuts and punctures from sharp debris were common, and in a world without modern antiseptics, these minor injuries could quickly fester and become severely infected, swelling painfully, turning red and hot, sometimes even leading to debilitating fevers or, in the worst cases, amputation or death. The persistent, dull ache in your feet and legs, from your toes to your hips, was a constant companion, a low, throbbing hum of discomfort that never truly dissipated. The medieval roads themselves were a constant source of agony for your feet. They were rarely paved with smooth stones like Roman roads. Instead, they were often little more than well-worn dirt tracks, churned into deep ruts by countless wagons, horses, and human feet. Imagine walking along such a path. One moment your foot is sinking into soft, sucking mud. The next it is twisting on a loose stone, or scraping against sharp gravel. After heavy rains, Sections of the road could become impassable quagmires, forcing you to wade through deep, cold, often filthy water, or to detour through dense, thorny undergrowth, risking further cuts and scrapes to your unprotected legs and feet. In dry weather, the roads would turn to choking dust, coating your feet and skin with a fine, gritty layer that infiltrated every pore, every fold of clothing, irritating your eyes and nostrils and leaving a persistent dryness in your mouth. The sounds would be the soft squelch of mud, the sharp crackle of dust, the rhythmic crunch of gravel, all blending into the monotonous soundtrack of your arduous journey. The long distances covered each day, often 15 to 25 miles for a sustained journey, placed immense continuous strain on your feet and entire body. Imagine walking for 10, 12, or even 14 hours a day, with only brief, infrequent stops for rest or meager meals. The sun, beating down from above, or the relentless chill of rain and wind, would exacerbate your fatigue. Your legs would grow heavy, your back would ache, and your shoulders would burn from the weight of your pack or the steady rhythm of your staff. The monotony of the landscape, mile after mile, slowly grinding down your spirit, would combine with the physical discomfort to create a profound sense of weariness that permeated every fiber of your being. This was not a temporary fatigue, it was a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that never truly left, even after a night's fitful sleep. The lack of proper hygiene on the road compounded these physical ailments. Without access to clean water or facilities, your feet would remain perpetually dirty, caked with mud, dust, and grime, further increasing the risk of infection in any cuts or blisters. Imagine removing your worn shoes or clogs at the end of a long day, the pungent, earthy odor of sweat, dirt, and unwashed feet filling the air. The sight of your own feet, swollen, red, perhaps covered in raw blisters or dried mud, would be a testament to the day's brutal demands. There was little you could do beyond a quick, cold rinse in a stream, if available, or simply rubbing them down with a coarse cloth. The pervasive discomfort and the silent threat of infection were constant companions, reminders of the harsh realities of medieval travel. Nights on the road offered little true respite for your feet. If you were fortunate, you might find shelter in a crowded, rough inn, its straw-filled beds offering a slightly softer surface, but often still shared with others, and teeming with fleas and lice. Your feet would be a constant source of discomfort, throbbing with pain, burning from blisters, or itching from insect bites. If you were less fortunate, you might sleep in the open, beneath the vast, indifferent sky, wrapped in a coarse woolen blanket, your feet pressing directly against the cold, hard earth. The sounds of the night, the rustle of unseen animals, the distant howl of a wolf, the whisper of the wind through the trees would blend with the persistent ache in your feet, making deep, restful sleep a challenging, hard-won luxury. The psychological toll of such constant physical discomfort and monotony was immense. Imagine the endless repetition of footsteps, mile after mile, hour after hour, your mind slowly falling into a trance-like state, a waking meditation induced by sheer, persistent effort. Your thoughts might wander to your distant home, to your loved ones, to the purpose of your journey. But always, in the background, was the low, persistent thrum of aching feet, a constant reminder of the physical struggle. This deep, internal solitude, this forced contemplation, could lead to profound introspection, or to a profound sense of weariness and quiet resignation to your fate, an acceptance of the long, slow, grinding rhythm of the medieval road. This pervasive reality of medieval travel, its simple, repetitive hardships, its profound physical demands, and its constant vulnerability to pain and illness, all centered around the arduous experience of your feet, profoundly shaped the medieval traveler's understanding of their world, their ability to endure, to keep walking day after day, despite constant discomfort, their deep connection to the land through every step, and their quiet resilience in the face of immense physical challenges, are powerful testaments to the enduring strength of the human spirit. And as you contemplate these quiet, profound stories, these often overlooked realities of medieval journeys on foot, may your own mind find a similar stillness, a deep sense of calm, preparing you gently for a truly restful and dream-filled sleep, a peaceful surrender to the ancient eternal patterns of existence. Having deeply immersed ourselves in the raw, unyielding realities of medieval hygiene and the persistent, often excruciating challenges faced by the feet of an ordinary peasant, enduring the relentless toil of the fields, the harshness of the unforgiving ground beneath their ill-shod or bare soles, and having then contemplated the arduous, ceaseless journeys on foot undertaken by medieval pilgrims, peddlers, and soldiers, let us now, slowly and with a profound shift in perspective, turn our gaze. We are about to step into a vastly different, yet equally disciplined, and profoundly revealing realm within the same ancient civilization. The silent, physical evidence left behind by medieval feet themselves. This is a narrative that seeks to transcend romanticized notions of historical discovery, delving instead into the harsh, often unyielding, yet deeply repetitive and surprisingly uniform clues that remain in the archaeological record, revealing the ailments, the deformities, and the forgotten rituals that profoundly shaped human understanding of the feet. In a world where every step was a challenge, it was a world where immense physical endurance intersected with profound, quiet scientific examination, creating unique and pervasive intellectual challenges that would profoundly test the very sensibilities of a modern individual, accustomed to pristine conditions and advanced medical understanding. Imagine, for a long, quiet moment, an archaeological dig site in what was once a bustling medieval town or a humble village. The sun hangs high in the sky, casting long, silent shadows. The sounds are minimal. The gentle whisper of the wind through dry grass, the distant rhythmic scrape of a trowel against earth, the soft swish of a brush clearing away fine dust. In this tranquil setting, archaeologists are meticulously, patiently, uncovering the subtle stories hidden beneath centuries of accumulated soil and forgotten debris. Among the most intimate and revealing discoveries are the skeletal remains of medieval men, women, and children. These bones, once living structures that bore the full weight of medieval life, now lie silently, preserving a wealth of information about the physical burdens and chronic pains endured by their owners, particularly those related to their feet. The examination of ancient skeletal remains, a field known as osteoarchaeology, provides invaluable, silent testimony. Imagine an osteoarchaeologist, seated quietly in a laboratory, holding a carefully excavated foot bone, perhaps a metatarsal or a phalanx, its surface smooth and cool with age. Their eyes, sharp and trained, scan the bone for subtle signs of stress, injury, or disease. The pervasive physical labor of medieval life, from incessant walking on uneven terrain to prolonged standing and squatting in fields, left indelible marks on the skeletal structure of the feet. These marks are not always dramatic fractures, but subtle changes, thickened bone density, slight deformities in the joints, or evidence of repetitive stress that slowly, inexorably reshaped the very bones themselves over a lifetime. The soft click of calipers measuring a bone, the gentle rustle of research notes. These are the sounds of this meticulous, quiet examination. One of the most common skeletal ailments found in medieval feet is evidence of osteoarthritis, a debilitating condition of joint degradation. Imagine examining the small, delicate joints of the toes, the midfoot or the ankle, and discovering subtle pitting, lipping or erosion on the bone surfaces, indicating chronic inflammation and pain. This condition, caused by relentless wear and tear, by constant walking, heavy lifting, and the absence of supportive footwear, would have made every step an agonizing ordeal for the afflicted individual. The persistent dull ache, the stiffness in the mornings, the limited range of motion, these were the silent burdens carried by countless medieval people, enduring their foot pain with a stoic resignation that is almost unimaginable today. The physical stress of their daily lives slowly, inevitably, ground down their very joints. Beyond osteoarthritis, other conditions provide insight into the harshness of their lives. Imagine discovering evidence of healed fractures in the foot bones, perhaps from a heavy object falling on them during manual labor, or from a severe twist or fall on uneven ground. While some fractures might heal cleanly, others would heal imperfectly, leaving behind deformities that would cause chronic pain and limping for the rest of their lives. Infections, too often left their silent marks. In a world without modern antibiotics, a simple cut or puncture wound on the foot, often sustained from walking barefoot or through worn shoes, could easily become infected, leading to osteomyelitis, a severe bone infection. Imagine examining a bone with subtle pitting, a telltale sign of past infection, indicating months of excruciating pain and the constant threat of systemic illness. The lack of proper wound care and the constant exposure to unsanitary conditions meant that even minor foot injuries posed a significant life-threatening risk. The study of ancient footwear, or what remains of it, also offers profound insights into the challenges faced by medieval feet. Intact medieval shoes are rare finds, typically preserved only in extremely damp, anaerobic conditions, such as cesspits, wells, or waterlogged archaeological sites. Imagine archaeologists carefully excavating a medieval cesspit, its contents malodorous but offering a unique window into daily life. Slowly, meticulously, they might uncover a shoe, its leather now dark and supple, its stitching still largely intact. The sounds would be the soft scrape of tools against damp earth, the gentle gurgle of mud, and the quiet awe of discovery. These shoes, when found, often reveal a sobering reality. They were typically ill-fitting, lacking any anatomical support, and made from stiff, unyielding leather. They offered protection from sharp objects and cold, but little in the way of comfort. Imagine examining one of these excavated medieval shoes. Its sole is thin, flat, lacking any arch support, providing little cushioning against the hard ground. The leather, once new, would have become stiff and unforgiving with wear, often chafing painfully against the foot. The process of making these shoes was rudimentary. Leather would be cut, stitched by hand with coarse thread, and then nailed to a simple wooden sole. There was no distinction between left and right feet for many centuries. Shoes were often made symmetrically, forcing the foot to conform to an unnatural shape over time. This constant friction, the lack of proper fit, and the absence of cushioning would have caused chronic pain, blisters, corns, and bunions, slowly deforming the feet over a lifetime of use. The subtle smell of old leather and damp earth emanating from these ancient shoes silently tells a story of discomfort and persistent wear. Beyond shoes, archaeological evidence also speaks to the profound filth that medieval feet endured. Imagine excavating a medieval street, revealing layers of compacted mud, refuse, and human and animal waste. Here you might find countless discarded objects, broken pottery, animal bones, food scraps, and, mixed in with the grime, the subtle, ghostly imprints of countless bare feet or poorly shod shoes that once trod this very ground. The soil itself, impregnated with centuries of organic waste, would carry a faint, persistent, earthy odor of decay. The presence of parasites, such as hookworm or roundworm, which could enter the body through cuts in the feet, often leaves subtle traces in ancient fecal matter found in archaeological contexts. This profound level of unsanitary ground contact meant that diseases often spread directly from the earth to the body through the feet. A silent, unseen killer. The cultural significance and rituals involving feet in the medieval period, though different from our own, also offer fascinating insights. Imagine the practice of foot washing pedalavium, particularly in monastic or religious contexts. This was not a daily hygiene ritual, but a symbolic act of humility and service. Echoing Christ's washing of the disciples' feet, monks might wash the feet of pilgrims, or a lord might wash the feet of the poor on Maundy Thursday. The sounds would be gentle, the soft splash of warm water in a basin, the quiet murmuring of prayers, the gentle rub of a soft cloth. This ritual, though rare, highlighted the profound symbolism of the feet as instruments of service and humility, a quiet moment of spiritual reflection amidst the physical discomfort they endured. The study of medieval art, such as illuminated manuscripts or frescoes, also offers subtle clues about the perception of feet. While often idealized, these depictions sometimes show the rough, bare feet of peasants, or the elaborate yet stiff shoes of nobles. Imagine a painting depicting a peasant working in the fields, their bare feet sturdy and strong, yet visibly caked with mud, their form conveying a quiet dignity despite the grime. Or a nobleman in a formal portrait, his feet encased in finely made, pointed shoes, their form elegant but perhaps hinting at discomfort if worn for long periods. These artistic representations, though stylized, quietly reinforce the societal distinctions and the functional realities of footwear in the medieval world. The long-term impact of these harsh realities on the bodies of medieval people is still visible in skeletal populations. Imagine analyzing a collection of adult medieval skeletons, many showing signs of bowed legs, twisted ankles, or deformed toes, all consistent with a lifetime of intense physical stress on the feet, exacerbated by poor nutrition and hard work. These are the silent, enduring testimonies of a lifetime of pain and discomfort, etched into the very bones. The presence of Schmall's nodes on the vertebrae, indicating spinal compression from heavy lifting, would be a common finding, reinforcing the total body burden. The medieval feet were not just functional, they were literally the foundation upon which an entire civilization was built, enduring immense, continuous strain without complaint. The profound quiet of these archaeological sites, these silent bones, and these simple remnants of ancient footwear, offers a unique form of meditation. They speak to us across centuries, whispering tales of lives lived with immense physical hardship, with constant discomfort, and with a profound resilience that is almost unimaginable in our modern world. They remind us that even the most fundamental aspects of our bodies, like our feet, were once sources of ceaseless challenge. yet were endured with a quiet strength that underpinned the very survival of their civilization. And as you contemplate these enduring mysteries, these quiet, unspoken stories from the ground beneath medieval Europe, may your own mind find a similar stillness, a deep sense of calm, preparing you gently for a truly restful and dream-filled sleep, a peaceful surrender to the ancient eternal patterns of existence. Having deeply immersed ourselves in the raw, unyielding realities faced by the feet of the ordinary medieval peasant, enduring the relentless toil of the fields and the unforgiving ground beneath their ill-shod or bare soles, and then having contemplated the arduous journeys of pilgrims and peddlers, feeling the persistent pain and the profound monotony of their endless walks, and having explored the pervasive hygiene challenges and the ever-present threat of disease that plagued all medieval feet, let us now, slowly and with a profound shift in perspective, turn our gaze. We are about to step into a vastly different, yet equally disciplined and often surprisingly uncomfortable realm within the same ancient civilization. The daily lives of the medieval nobility and aristocracy, those who resided within the magnificent, seemingly impenetrable walls of castles and grand manors. This is a narrative that seeks to transcend romanticized notions of endless luxury, delving instead into the harsh, often unyielding, yet deeply repetitive and surprisingly uniform protocols that governed even the highest echelons of society. It was a world where immense privilege intersected with profound, inherent physical vulnerabilities, creating unique and pervasive challenges to comfort that would profoundly test the very sensibilities of a modern individual, accustomed to pristine conditions and advanced footwear. Imagine for a long, quiet moment the very start of such a day for a medieval noble deeply rooted in the ancient patterns of elite existence, yet far from immune to the persistent discomforts that plague the human body, particularly the feet. The hour is often still quite early, long before the first hint of golden light has even begun to fully illuminate the cold, grey eastern sky, which is still softly shrouded in the deep, cool indigo blue of pre-dawn. You are awakened not by a jarring alarm, nor by the subtle shift in air, but by the gentle, almost imperceptible stirrings of your personal attendants, trained to move with the utmost discretion. Perhaps the soft, distant chiming of a small, ornate clock from a nearby hall, or the low, almost imperceptible murmur of servants beginning their quiet preparations in the outer chambers, gently pulls you back from the depths of sleep. Your spacious bedchamber, often a solar or a richly appointed private room within the castle, feels cool and dark, its thick stone walls holding the night's coolness against the encroaching morning warmth. The air within carries a complex, clean, comforting scent of polished wood, of antique furniture, of old tapestries, and perhaps the subtle, lingering perfume of dried herbs or beeswax from a distant candle. There is no hard-yielding bed to endure. Your bed, often a grand four-poster affair with silk hangings and a soft mattress filled with down or feathers, offers unparalleled comfort, its smooth linen sheets a gentle caress against your body. You rise slowly, gracefully, your muscles perfectly rested, accustomed to a life devoid of strenuous physical labor. The polished wooden floor or finely tiled surface beneath your bare feet is cool, smooth, its texture unfamiliar with the roughness of earth, but soon to be encased in the unique challenges of noble footwear. The process of preparing for the day for a medieval noble was an elaborate, unhurried, and deeply ritualistic affair, a central pillar of their daily existence, utterly dependent on a retinue of devoted attendants. There is no frantic rush. Instead, your personal maid or page, moving with trained grace and efficiency, would bring a basin of warm scented water for washing. Imagine splashing the warm, fragrant liquid onto your face, feeling its gentle caress awaken your skin, its subtle perfume filling your senses. Your hair, meticulously groomed, would then be carefully brushed and styled by the gentle hands of your attendant. Dressing in your daily attire is another act of quiet, precise layering, often involving multiple delicate garments. You would carefully select your undergarments of fine linen or silk, which are then meticulously placed upon your body by your attendants. Over this, you would don your everyday noble robes, perhaps made of richly embroidered wool or fine linen that whispers softly as it settled around your form. The subtle rustle of the fine fabric as you move, the feel of its luxurious texture against your skin, are quiet sensations that become part of the background of your morning, a constant reminder of your privileged, yet constrained, existence. Then comes the specific ritual of adorning your feet. While peasants endured bare feet or rough clogs, nobles wore footwear that, though luxurious in material, often presented its own peculiar discomforts and challenges. Imagine pulling on a pair of finely crafted leather shoes, often made of soft, supple deer or calfskin, perhaps intricately embroidered with silk thread. These shoes were often custom-made, but the medieval understanding of anatomical fit was rudimentary. They could still be ill-fitting, too tight in some places, too loose in others, causing subtle, persistent discomfort. More notably, noble fashion often dictated styles that were profoundly impractical for the feet. The poulain or Krakow, a shoe with an absurdly elongated, pointed toe, became incredibly popular, especially in the 14th and 15th centuries. Imagine trying to walk gracefully, or even just stand, in shoes with toes that could extend up to 2 feet beyond your actual foot. The sole was often thin, offering little cushioning from hard stone floors, and the points were sometimes stiffened with whalebone or moss, forcing your toes into an unnatural compressed position. The sounds would be the soft creak of the fine leather, the subtle shuffle of these elongated toes on the polished stone floors, a constant, gentle reminder of their peculiar, fashionable discomfort. The constant wearing of these fashionable, yet often ill-fitting or impractical, shoes led to its own set of persistent foot ailments for the nobility. Corns, calluses, and bunions were common, exacerbated by the constant pressure and unnatural shapes forced upon the feet. Imagine the dull, persistent ache of a bunion, inflamed by the tight leather, or the stinging pain of a corn, pressed relentlessly by your shoe. The pointed poulains in particular often caused deformities of the toes, bending them into unnatural angles, leading to chronic pain and difficulty walking. In an era without modern podiatry, these foot problems were simply endured, treated with simple herbal remedies or, more often, with a stoic acceptance of physical discomfort as part of life. Even the most luxurious silk stockings, worn beneath these shoes, offered little true relief from the underlying structural problems caused by the footwear itself. Beyond the shoes, the sheer amount of standing and walking required in a noble's daily life, even within the confines of a castle, contributed to foot fatigue. While not working in fields, nobles were expected to stand for long hours during courtly ceremonies, during meals in the great hall, or while attending their lord. Imagine standing for hours, perfectly upright on cold, hard stone floors, the weight of your body pressing down on your already uncomfortable feet, perhaps exacerbated by the constricting nature of your fine, heavy garments. The subtle ache that would begin in your arches, slowly spreading to your calves and up your back, would be a constant, low-level discomfort, a persistent thrum of fatigue. Even gentle activities like walking through vast castle halls or across extensive gardens required sustained effort from feet often unsuited for it. The social etiquette surrounding feet and footwear was also incredibly strict and pervasive, contributing to a psychological burden distinct from physical pain. To appear in an ill-fitting or dirty shoe was a grave breach of etiquette. Imagine the constant, quiet anxiety of ensuring your elaborate shoes were always pristine, always polished, always conforming to the latest fashion, even if they caused immense discomfort. Servants, including specialized shoemakers and valets, would spend hours meticulously cleaning, polishing, and repairing noble footwear. But the ultimate responsibility for presentation rested on the noble themselves. The sounds would be the soft rub of polishing cloths, the gentle murmur of instructions, all part of the continuous effort to maintain an image of effortless elegance, despite the hidden pain. The grand architecture of medieval castles, while magnificent, also contributed to unique foot challenges. Imagine walking through vast, echoing great halls, their floors often cold stone or roughly flagstoned, providing no cushioning, climbing endless, spiraling stone staircases, their steps uneven and narrow, often without handrails, required careful, precise foot placement. The constant impact of foot on stone, the subtle twists and turns required for medieval castle navigation, all contributed to persistent foot fatigue and minor injuries. The air within the castle, often cold and damp, could exacerbate foot ailments, making joints stiff and painful. The sounds of your fine leather shoes clicking softly on the stone, or the gentle shuffle of your silk robes, would echo through these vast, ancient spaces. The long journeys that nobles occasionally undertook, whether for war, political negotiation, or pilgrimage, also placed immense strain on their feet. Despite riding horses, while they might travel on horseback, the act of riding for hours, day after day, in heavy armor or elaborate attire, still put significant pressure on the feet and ankles in the stirrups. Furthermore, dismounting and walking for periods, or navigating rough terrain where horses could not go, still demanded robust foot endurance. Imagine dismounting after hours on horseback, feeling the immediate throbbing pain in your feet as they met the cold, hard earth, accustomed to the stirrups' pressure. The sounds would be the soft whinny of the horses, the creak of saddle leather, and the rhythmic clang of your armor, accompanying your weary steps. Disease, that ever-present shadow in medieval life, also afflicted the feet of the nobility, sometimes in ways exacerbated by their lifestyle. Gout, a painful form of arthritis often associated with rich diets high in meat and wine, was a common ailment among the wealthy. Imagine the excruciating pain of an inflamed big toe, throbbing incessantly, making even the slightest touch unbearable, making wearing fashionable shoes an agonizing impossibility. This was a disease that could incapacitate a noble for weeks, forcing them to rest, to endure the pain in quiet solitude. Other infections, though perhaps less frequent than among peasants due to better living conditions, could still occur from minor cuts or persistent skin conditions, and in an era without modern medicine, even these could be debilitating. The physical pain, the frustration of being unable to participate in courtly life, these were the unseen burdens of noble feet. The pervasive sense of dignity and rigid protocol, even in illness, meant that noble suffering was often endured in quiet fortitude, far from public view. Imagine a noble suffering from a crippling attack of gout, yet striving to maintain a composed, serene exterior, masking their immense pain behind a polite smile during a social gathering. The emotional discipline required to suppress outward displays of discomfort, to carry on with their duties despite physical agony, was immense. This constant, internal struggle, performed in profound silence, defined much of their existence, a quiet burden of unspoken pain and persistent self-regulation. The sounds of their polite conversation, the gentle murmur of music, would belie the internal physical battle they were quietly enduring. The long hours of structured leisure, the repetitive social rituals, and the demanding etiquette created a unique kind of monotony, even amidst luxury. Whether it was meticulously observing courtly protocol, patiently sitting through long feasts, or engaging in quiet, intellectual pursuits, the daily life was filled with tasks that, though purposeful, were repetitive and physically demanding for their feet and bodies in unexpected ways. This constant, unceasing rhythm, this absence of wild, spontaneous freedom, profoundly shaped their character, instilling a deep sense of discipline, patience, and resilience. The sounds of their tasks, the distant echoes of castle life, the quiet hum of their own thoughts, these were the companions of their long, structured days. As the sun began its slow, gradual descent towards the western horizon, painting the vast castle grounds with fiery oranges, deep purples, and soft fading blues, the air gradually, slowly, began to cool again, bringing with it the damp, pervasive chill of the medieval night. The shadows lengthened, stretching endlessly across the courtyards and through the great halls, before finally, inevitably, merging into the complete, profound darkness of night. The noble, weary from their day of structured duties, social engagements, and perhaps the persistent, quiet ache in their feet, would slowly prepare for the evening. The sounds of the castle at night would be the soft, rhythmic breathing of sleeping attendants, the gentle crackling of a dying fire in the great hall, the subtle creak of old timbers as the mighty structure responded to the cooling night air, and the distant, muffled calls of watchmen or nocturnal animals from the surrounding forest, all blending into a soothing, natural lullaby. This deep, shared sleep, born of an entire day of unyielding discipline, constant service, profound emotional adaptation, and the persistent physical demands on their feet, prepared their body for the inevitable, relentless rhythm of the coming dawn, knowing that tomorrow, the sun would rise again, and the endless, silent, demanding routines of medieval noble life, with all its gilded constraints and hidden discomforts, would simply, quietly, continue guiding them, through sheer weariness, towards a deep, restorative sleep, a peaceful surrender to the ancient, eternal patterns of existence.